So we want our mountains higher and our valleys much lower. And one way that we can get this is to make big crescendos and diminuendos, because the extra loudness shows that we're making a big effort. And of course, the visual aspect of moving up. For instance, take a section of Capriccio Árabe by Francisco Tárrega. If I just play this particular part straight, well, you'll see. It sounds okay, but you know, doesn't really sound particularly good. Now let's try a little crescendo, see if that helps. That's already better. But if we really want to get a good 19th century effect, then we must see the effect of moving up. So, plus the crescendo. That's better yet. Then we really know we got someplace, and we worked to get there. Another part of Capriccio Árabe, Tárrega, which will show that. This section, I've heard people play it just straight as a ramrod like this. But if you really want to get an effect out of it, you have to build it up gradually so that we see that when you finally make it up to the higher mountain, that you deserve to get there. It's not a case of levitation or something. So. And then you can coast down. So once you've got up to the top, then of course you can keep on, put the gas pedal on and floor it all the way down to the bottom of the mountain if you want to. But most of the time you'd probably coast down. Sounds much better. One of the main things you may have noticed about everything I've played so far is that it was a little bit slithery. But I was doing absolutely everything I could to make everything very, very smooth. And the reason you do this is that while we want the mountains to be terribly high and very hard to get up, and the valleys very low and even hard to get into, we still want the audience to realize that we, the great virtuoso, don't have any trouble getting up those mountains or down those valleys. And for that, it has to be smooth, because if there's any little hiccup or any little problem or any little stop or start or any rough sound, immediately the audience is going to think, uh-oh, poor thing, they're having trouble. So this very slimy kind of effect is what you really have to go for in almost anything 19th century again. Now, there are several different ways of playing smoothly. One of the ones that people use a lot these days is to just hold things over. In other words, to play a scale as though it were an arpeggio. That kind of thing. Now, this effect, used really copiously in music, was almost invented by Ida Presti and is only really pretty recent in general usage. So the 19th century people didn't really do much of that. So you can just forget about that one, though it does exist. Another way to play smoothly is to put big crescendo, diminuendo, something like that in the line, so that the direction is so strong that even if you have a hole, it still doesn't sound like too much of a hole, because everybody's too busy noticing the beautiful crescendo that you did. And then, of course, the very favorite way that 19th century violinists played to get as much smoothness as possible, and guitarists all copied them in that, is sliding up and down. Then there's no question what's attached to what. It's attached because it just goes that way. And in fact, they sometimes would even do things like that. Slide the wrong direction. Any slide is better than no slide. So you're always safe putting that sort of thing in portamentos, they're called. And of course, another factor that you've got to bear in mind is if you go to all this effort to get to the top of a mountain, you're not going to just dash right back down again. I mean, if you work real hard to climb up to a mountain, you'll get out your sandwiches, you'll sit down, you'll enjoy the view, right? And they did too. Nice vibrato, beautiful note, right? You've got to take advantage of that sort of thing. So that's another very important factor. Now, even if you're not at the top of a mountain, if you're playing a very important note, you should hold on to it a little bit extra to emphasize it. And of course, you don't want to emphasize all those unimportant or very short little notes. This is the right kind of rubato.